From our family to yours, L'chaim.
Shana Tova u'Metuka.
Shana Tova from Steve and Sue.
Happy New Year.
Shana Tova from the Allan and Felix families.
Happy New Year.
Chag Sameach.
Happy New Year!
L'chaim.
Happy New Year from the Ford family.
Shana Tova from YB1.
L'chaim.
L'shana Tova.
Shana Tova, everyone from Bar Kish.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, L'chaim, from the Pinkwater family.
L'chaim.
Shana Tova from the Kuven family.
Happy New Year from the Auschwitz family.
Shana Tova u'Mituka. A happy and sweet New Year.
Shana Tova u'Mituka.
Shana Tova from the Benjamin Stewart family.
L'chaim.
Shana Tova from Casa de Allan. Shana Tova from the Coleman family.
L'chaim.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Happy New Year from the Brown family.
L'chaim, Shana Tova.
L'chaim.
Shana Tova. Happy New Year from the Bagley family.
Shana Tova from the Graham family.
Thank you.
Good Yontif. My friends, here's to a year of health and happiness. L'chaim. Shana Tova. Well, I didn't see that one coming. Did you? What a year. A year of distance and pain and violence and loss and transformation and tenderness and intimacy and beauty. A year full of challenges. A year that is finally over, thank goodness, even if the challenges themselves are not. A year that's brought us new possibilities, too. Those challenges and those possibilities are, for me, embodied by our High Holy Day observances. We wish we could be together, but that wouldn't be safe. We need to protect each other, even if that means sacrificing something we love doing. Instead, we are praying, we are singing this way, and we'll be using Zoom after each service to connect with one another person to person, to take a deeper dive into the material. We are partnering with ASU Hillel this year, and I am so pleased that you will get to know my colleague and friend, Rabbi Suzy Stone. Let me introduce her to you now. And our music will be provided by Cantorial soloist Allan Naplan. Thank you for sharing this evening and these high holy days with the three of us. Wherever you are, I hope you are safe and relaxed, but not so relaxed that you fall asleep. Comfortable, but not so comfortable that you avoid seeing what's true about your life. The words of our prayers will appear on your screen. Please say them aloud with us, mull them over. Sing the music along with Allan. Allow yourself to be carried away by it. When we ask you to rise, do so if your body allows it. Successful prayer has never been a spectator sport. You must participate actively despite being at home, despite the monitor that comes between us. You are responsible for your own experience this year, as you have always been. No one can do it for you. Please know, you can pause and resume our services if you need to. You can adjust the volume. You can take your phone and any other distraction into another room. You can go get candles and matches and a Kiddush cup with wine or juice so that we can bless together. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Blessing together. The challenge and the possibility, the distance and the intimacy. Blessing this one unique, awesome, precious, intimate moment, this shared moment. So let's be here now together. Let's take a deep breath. And another. And another. We are so glad that you're here. L'chaim. Here's to a new year and a chance to start over. Allan.
May this be a year of love and kindness. May strangers come to be friends. May truth and compassion always guide us. Amen. May this be a year of hope and healing for all of those in need. May all of our deeds be a blessing. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer. May this be a year of selfless giving. May this be a year of peace, and may we forgive and be forgiven. Amen. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a sweet year, a chance to bring us closer, closer to the ones we love, a world that we can be proud of, as long as there are stars above. There comes a new year.
I hope you have your candles nearby. If not, please pause this recording and go get them. We can all be bringers of light into the world, and we can share our light with one another. The first mitzvah in the Torah is, let there be light. So we are commanded, in everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, Do your work with passion, and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished. And may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you. Let's light our candles now.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehad likneh shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
This autumn night, the shades of darkness in the sky are signs of Earth's turning, the fleeting ways of nature. And we, drawn together in this holy house, filled with New Year's hope and light, turn our hearts toward you in prayer, in worship, seeking life's essence. In the presence of your love, we feel the nearness of those who bless our lives even in death. Precious memories of their love restore our strength, renew our faith in life's goodness. We acknowledge with gratitude the life you have given us, the bounty that sustains us, your comfort in sickness and sorrow, your consolation in valleys of despair. God of years, God of eternity, bless us now and always. Bless our homes and our families. Be with us in our dreams and in our hopes. Be with us through these days of awe as we search our souls within and seek the lasting shelter of your love. Please rise as we hear the call of the shofar.
At the new moon, at the full moon, for our feast day, sound the shofar, for that is the law of Israel, the way of the God of Jacob. Hallelu b'teka shofar. Praise God with the blast of the shofar. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol Torah amo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Tekiah. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Yehi ratzon shenizkeh livrotecha, b'shanat chameshet alafim, shva me'ot shmonim ve'achat. Elohei olam, barech otanu, ve'et kol beit Yisrael, b'chidush yameinu, b'simcha uv'shalom, b'nechama uv'ometz lev, b'chilut atzamot uv'ruach etana. Yihi pri sifatenu mikubal v'ratsui milfanecha. Bifros hashana chahadasha, la'ad modim anachnu lach, al matnat hachaim. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5781. Eternal One, bless us, the whole house of Israel, with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. We rise with a Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya-da-da-da-da, 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 ya-da-da-da-da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya-da-da-da-da, 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 ya-da-da-da-da.
Bless Adonai, who spins day into dusk. With wisdom watch the dawn gates open. With understanding let time and seasons come and go. With awe perceive the stars in lawful orbit. Morning dawns, evening darkens, darkness and light yielding one to the other, yet each distinguished and unique. Marvel at life, strive to know its ways, seek wisdom and truth, the gateways to life's mysteries. Wondrous indeed is the evening twilight. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk.
ונשמח בדברי תורה לעולם ועד, כי חרב חיינו, ויורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמי, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us by commandments and commanded us regarding the reading of the Shema, to declare God's reign with a whole heart, to declare God one with a good and willing heart, and to worship God with a good and willing spirit. Please rise for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשפך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
To break the bonds of anger, to be generous of heart, to break the bonds of shame, to live with self-respect, to break the bonds of envy, to serve one another in joy, to break the bonds of boredom, to be attentive to all God's gifts, to break the bonds of fear, to live with courage and strength, to untie the knots of betrayal, to love with fullness of being, to break the bonds of loneliness, to receive a hand of hope, to break the bonds of self-centeredness, to extend a hand of help. Released from the darkness, our people found their freedom at the sea, and we pray for liberation at the dawning of this year. There were no signs. By walking, I found out where I was going. By intensely hating, how to love. By loving, whom and what to love. By grieving, how to laugh from the belly. Out of infirmity, I have built strength. Out of untruth, truth. From hypocrisy, I wove directness. Almost now I know who I am. Almost I have the boldness to be that man or woman. Another step, and I shall be where I started from. We continue with our prayer for peace, the Hashki Benu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim Hashkivenu Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, from sorrow and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם וביום השביעי, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The Amidah is our central prayer. Traditionally said standing, it is designed as an encounter between the individual Jew and God. One-on-one, no separation between us. The Amidah gives us an opportunity to pour out our hearts, to name our sorrows, to hold tight to our hopes, to acknowledge that we are not in control. Alone of all the Amidahs we'll offer together over the course of these high holy days, this first one will be prayed silently. Please rise if you're able to, and step into the head and heart space of this holy prayer. You may be seated.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amecha Yisrael U'tefilatam Be'ahava Tekabel U'techile Ratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha Karov Lecho Koreav Penei El Avadecha V'chaneinu Shefach Ruchacha Aleinu V'techezena Eineinu B'shuvecha l'Tzion B'rachmatecha
After a long illness, I was permitted for the first time to step outside. As I crossed the threshold, sunlight greeted me. So long as I live, I shall never forget that moment. And everywhere in the firmament above me, in the great vault between earth and sky, on the pavement, the buildings, the golden glow of sunlight. It touched me, too, with friendship, with warmth, with blessing. And I remembered how often I had been indifferent to the sunlight, how often preoccupied with petty and sometimes mean concerns. I had disregarded it. And I said to myself, how precious is the sunlight, but alas, how careless of it we are. Right now, as I speak, some are lying on a bed of pain. Some have had their dreams shattered. Some are afraid, alone. Some are struggling yet hopeful. This year, as I speak, we are all hurting in some form or fashion. Please, as we prepare to say our Mishaberach, speak aloud the names of those you know who need healing. You might include your name and our country's too. Goodness knows we need healing. Each name is a prayer. Together we call upon the source of strength.
Mekor habracha li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Sheberach imotenu, mekor habracha li'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
This June, 23-year-old Leslie Dwight wrote a poem on Instagram. Liked by almost 500,000 people, it became a viral message for a viral year. As she said, what if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather it's the most important year of them all. Declare change, work for change, be the change. Most of my adult life, I have tried to live by Gandhi's teaching, that we must be the change that we seek in the world. Or as others like to say, when the world is dark, simply be the light. But given the amount of death and destruction and chaos that we have experienced in 2020, I'm struggling to figure out how to be the change when the world as we know it, quite frankly, has disappeared. When the problems feel so monumental, where do we begin? And with a world that is already set on fire, what does it even mean to be the light? How do we maintain hope, knowing that almost 1 million people worldwide have died in just the last 6 months due to COVID-19, and countless others have been consumed by isolation, fear, and anxiety? Closer to home, some of us in this very community have lost loved ones in indescribable and painful ways. We have seen our neighbors, our friends, and our family members lose their jobs, health insurance, a safety net, or even their homes. Record-breaking fires break out daily. Hurricanes and tornadoes have uprooted millions of Americans as we continue to witness the ravaging effects of the greatest climate disaster in history. And then there are the cries of justice, in which our hearts and minds have been set ablaze as we witness the brutal legacy of 400 years of slavery and systemic racism rising up to demand justice once and for all. So what can Judaism teach us about bringing more light into the world, especially given the fact that many congregations throughout the world read the story of creation on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, as it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. When God began to create the heaven and earth, the earth was formless and empty, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind of God sweeping over the water. Vayomer Elohim yehyeh or, vayeh or. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Vayomer Elohim yehi or, vayehi or. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This year, more than ever, I am struck by the contrast between these two simple verses, between the tohu vavohu, the swirling darkness, the wind, the water, and the chaos of the second verse, and the simplicity of the third verse that says, "Let there be light," and there was light. And if only it were that simple. If only there was someone who could flip on a switch or even just turn on a very small nightlight so that we could see a glimmer of hope underneath our door. Then perhaps we could awake from this fugue-like state we've been living in. This year, more than ever, I am struck by the distance that we have to traverse between a world of darkness and a world of light, a world of anger and a world of love, a world of cynicism and a world of hope. But what if that third verse, yehi or, let there be light, is less about God's role in the universe and more about our role here on earth? Rather than being the light, what if our job is to simply let it be, to let it pass through us, to reflect the light that already exists and to magnify it rather than to have to fashion it? Like the moon, perhaps our job is not to be the light, but to reflect it. As Rabbi Nachman taught in a midrash almost 2,000 years ago, the Jewish people are likened to the moon because while the sun rules by day, it becomes imperceptible at night, whereas the moon is visible both day and night. As the spiritual inheritors of the moon, this is why we begin each holiday at sundown rather than sunrise, and why the Jewish calendar is anchored in the rhythms of the moon. And yet the rabbis go one step further by teaching us that it is not only our job to be like the moon, but also to bless the darkness. They do so by instituting a practice known as Kiddush Levanah, the blessing of the moon. However, rather than blessing the moon when it is full and bright and beautiful, they command us to bless the new moon, as it is waxing and barely visible to the naked eye. As they said, Kol mevarech al hachodesh bizmano, ki ilu mikabel panei shechina. Anyone who blesses the new moon in the correct time, when it is barely visible, it is as though that person has encountered the presence of the divine. And thus, reflecting on the light that surrounds us is one of the holiest tasks that we have as Jews. No matter how dark the world around us may seem, our job is to be like a prism, to disperse the light rather than to create it. One way we can do this, a simple way, is to use our social media as a platform for spreading the light. I know that it's easy to share and reshare and repost everything that is scary and dark in our world right now. But I encourage you to balance this with something that is life-affirming, a story of hope, of resilience for all of us to share in. For example, perhaps it could be a simple pleasure, like a beautiful plate of avocado toast or even a pumpkin spice latte. Perhaps it's a photo of a recent hike or a beautiful vista. Perhaps it is an image of a socially distant gathering that brought you joy. All of these things are a great place to start, but I encourage you, between now and Yom Kippur, to go at least one step further and to do 3 simple things. First, share a story of hope or heroism of someone whom you do not know. Second, share one story of a family member and ask them what was the biggest challenge that they personally faced and how did they overcome it. Third, share one story of a friend whom you admire and tell us what light they brought to you that you want to reflect back into the world. I plead with you that if you do nothing else between now and Yom Kippur, please find 10 minutes to share 3 stories of someone who brought light into the world and tag us on Instagram so that we can repost and reshare and reshare and reshare some of the light that already exists in the world. And for those of you especially who have lost loved ones in this past year, I hope you will use this opportunity to reshare their stories and their light with us, for we are taught to say Yizkur and to teach their Torah to the world on Yom Kippur so that their memory continues to be a blessing in all of our lives. As Bruce Feiler teaches, this is as much of an ancient practice as it is simply good psychology, for we now know that sharing stories of resilience is the number one way to build more resilience in our own lives. Rather than believing that we need to dispel the darkness before we can bless the light, our creation story teaches us that darkness, tohu vavohu, is actually a precondition for the light. As the great Hasidic master, the Yismach Yisrael, once observed, for a seed to produce a plant, it first has to decay, fall to the ground, to be subsumed by the darkness of the soil, and then, only then, he teaches, can it reemerge as a plant that reaches towards the light. Unlike Passover, which is celebrated on the full moon of Nisan, we celebrate Rosh Hashanah on a new, just barely visible moon. Therefore, after services tonight, I encourage you to go outside and to bless the darkness as we cross over the threshold from the year 5780 to the year 5781. While many of us would like to snap our fingers and to have an end to 2020, or to walk outside tonight and to see a miraculously full and beautiful moon, we know in the end that change takes time, that overcoming grief takes patience, and that pursuing real justice is often painstakingly slow and immensely difficult. And yet the new moon of Rosh Hashanah reminds us that in Judaism, having true faith means learning how to live life more fully and more vulnerably at the intersection between darkness and light, between waxing and waning, between decay and growth, as well as joy and pain. We do not wait for the full moon to eat apples and honey and to sing songs of joy. Rather, we celebrate this holiday, this new moon, during the darkest time of the month, and perhaps the darkest years in recent history, as a way to remind ourselves that our job is not to create the light, but rather to reflect it. And so, as I conclude with a blessing for all of us on this new year, Shana Tova, may this new year be a year of goodness and health. Shana Le'ora, may this new year be a year of letting in the light and of letting there be light. And on this new year, may we all be sealed in the book of light. Shana Tova Tikatevu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamo Aleinu. Ve'al Aleinu, V'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever, V'cherev V'rav, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Chol Tzar, Umasti, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema ein banu masim, aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'moshienu, avinu malkeinu, chaneinu v'aneinu, avinu malkeinu, chaneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu masim.
Let's pause for a moment and look into the flames of your Shabbat candles. See, really see, the delicate, powerful beauty. Notice how the colors merge into each other. Can you feel the warmth of the flame or touch the wax? If you listen closely, can you hear anything? The light of life is like a finite flame. Like our sacred candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. Our thoughts turn to loved ones who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam livracha, that we say. May their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. As we remember Gerald Engert, Richard Aaron, Wolf Bedak, Charles Blufeld, Leo Brownwald, Karen Bruzonsky, Marcia Buchalter, Lois Cable, Sylvia Collins, Henry Davis, Doris Dorfman, Abe Feldstein, Mitzi Frank, Rita Freifeld, Ethel Gaffin, Jenny Gilman, Selma Ann Goldstein, Janice Gordon, Marcia Green, Morit Gutman, Abraham Harris, Martin Clems, Maurice Klugman, Emily Lepowski, Jeffrey Liederman, Beverly Love, Gerald Marks, Peter Newberg, Erwin Newhauser, Burton Paley, Ralph Perner, George Raviol, Paul Reiter, Dorothy Schwartz, Larry Sinkin, Paul Weiss, and Jenny Wold. Would you please say aloud the names of others that you are remembering on this Erev Rosh Hashanah? Please rise, as is your custom, as we recite Kaddish Yutom together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Our service has nearly concluded. Let me take a moment to tell you about other High Holy Day experiences with us. In addition to tomorrow morning's service and family service, this Sunday, September 20th, we are holding 2 Tashlich gatherings, one at 9 a.m. at ASU Research Park in Tempe, and one at 10:30 a.m. at Riparian Preserve in Gilbert. Everyone is welcome. In addition to brief ceremonies of release, bring your camera and your creativity as we explore the creation story together through photography. Maps and more information, including necessary registration, are available on the temple website. Everyone's invited to shofar blowing and Havdalah at Mansell Carter Oasis Park in Queen Creek on September 26th. You do need to register. More information can be found on the website. Immediately following this service, we'll reconvene on Zoom for a deeper dive, a way to look more closely into the themes of the service and to connect with one another. Fill your Kiddush cup or wine glass so that we can toast the new year together. Thank you, truly, deeply, wholeheartedly, to Temple Emanuel's staff. You cannot imagine how hard we've worked to bring you these High Holy Day services. Thank you to our president and executive committee who have been tireless servants of Temple Emanuel. Thank you to Dan Schwartz, our videographer extraordinaire, and Emily Schwartz, who created the L'Chaim video. Thank you, Rabbi Suzy and Allan Naplan, for being my Bima partners and for all you've given us this evening.
Great is peace, for all blessings flow from peace. Great is peace, for without peace, no blessing is complete. Great is peace, for even in times of war, the hope for peace is undiminished. Great is peace, for peace is granted to those who repent. Great is peace, for peace is the inheritance of the righteous. Great is peace, for peace is granted to those who love and study the Torah. Great is peace, for peace is granted to the humble. Great is peace, for peace is granted to those who do justice. Great is peace, for God's name is peace. Great is peace, for peace is equal in weight to all the works of creation. Great is peace, for even heaven needs peace. Behold, if peace is needed in heaven, where neither hatred nor strife is found, how great the need for peace on earth, where hatred and strife abound. Baruch atah Adonai, Oseh HaShalom. You are the Blessed One, the Eternal One, our source of shalom.
And now, if you'll raise a glass. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
Yeah.
Tekiah.